Lexus has certainly come a long way. What started off as little more than a fancy Toyota is a fully fledged luxury brand these days. And it's also worked very hard to command the hybrid high ground. But to some, Lexus is still a bit of a fuddy-duddy brand and doesn't really attract enough of the young, aspirational buying group. This car, the CT200h, should change all that.
The newcomer is a watershed car for Lexus, not only because it's the luxury car maker's first hatchback, but also because its purpose is to turn the heads of those enamored by the likes of the BMW 1 Series and the Audi A3. In other words, younger, well-heeled executives who like their motoring to be stylish, sporty and technologically advanced. There's also another string to the bow of this Lexus. Unlike any of its competitors, it's a hybrid, which makes it more ecologically acceptable than a typical premium performance hatch. But what about that unusual appearance?
The styling of this Lexus hatchback is an acquired taste. It does look better in the metal and even better on the move, but nothing can disguise this heavy rear end, which just simply looks awkward from some angles. This is the F-Sport version, which gets a mild body kit and larger wheels, and that does add a welcome touch of aggression.
The front end certainly looks assertive thanks to slanted headlights, the meshed grills of the upper and lower air intakes, and a deep integrated bumper with space for the standard fog lamps. But as mentioned, it's the tail that lets the side down. The haunches are simply too pronounced and the tailgate too abrupt. But it does stand out from the premium hatchback crowd, and yes, it does attract attention.
One of the things that Lexus does really well is interior design, and this car is no exception. There's a smart, upmarket feel to the execution and also a sense of tactile quality. What I do like about it is that the high-tech personality of the car is also expressed in the design.
For instance, the instrument panel changes depending on the drive mode selected. In Sport, the backlighting turns an angry red and the econometer is replaced with a rev counter. The dials are clearly and cleanly presented and suit the hatchback's sporty positioning. The front bucket seats are cushy and comfortable with plenty of support, but the rear is more cramped than expected, due in part to the sloping roofline. Luggage space is modest at best though, and you'll need to fold the split rear bench seat down to accommodate larger items. Up front, the dashboard features a pop-up color display that provides access to a host of information. It acts as an interface to set up and operate the CD audio system and the Bluetooth telephone interface, as well as the turn-by-turn navigation system. USB and auxiliary inputs allow the use of iPods and other personal music devices. The finishes are top class with metallic accents adding to the cabin's upmarket aura.
The hybrid drivetrain of the CT200h consists of a 1.8-litre petrol engine and an electric motor. The petrol engine good for 73 kilowatt and 142 newton meters. The electric motor produces 60 kilowatt and 207 newton meters. But you can't simply add those two together because the total system output is 100 kilowatt. Drive is to the front wheels via a CVT gearbox, and you all know how we feel about CVT gearboxes.
Indeed, the gearbox is the most disappointing part of the drivetrain. It's operated via a fiddly, stubby little gear lever that sprouts from the dash, and it doesn't offer any sequential manual mode, let alone shift paddles. Thus, you're left at the mercy of the gearbox's whims. CVTs are more efficient than a normal gearbox, but because the engine revs bear little relation to road speed, it sounds as if the clutch is slipping, which can be both annoying and disconcerting. Besides, some of the car's potential to engage the driver is lost.
One of the interesting parts about this Lexus are the four driving modes it offers. There's the default normal mode, then the sport mode, which is what we prefer, gives you a meatier steering and a sharper throttle response. Also eco mode, which puts the emphasis very much on fuel consumption. And then there's what we call stealth mode or EV mode. It allows the car to run purely on electric power for up to 3 kilometers at a maximum of 45 kilometers an hour.
Needless to say, sport mode should be the default setting. It won't transform the hybrid hatch into a tar burner, but the sharper responses to driver input allow a more direct and more satisfying dialogue between the Lexus and its pilot.
It might have an F-Sport badge on the side, but this is not a hot hatch. Part of the reason is the CVT gearbox, which does tend to blunt response and dynamics to some extent. Having said that, performance fairly brisk, 0 to 100 in 10.1 seconds, top speed 180 kilometers an hour. But the most impressive statistic with this car is the fuel consumption at 4.1 liters per 100 kilometers, and that will please a lot of people who are tired to spend a lot of money at the fuel pumps.
The chassis remains somewhat underutilized. It's equipped with an all-independent suspension consisting of front McPherson struts and race-bred double wishbones at the rear. The damper settings are tuned for comfort but still provide a reasonable idea of the poise and response on offer.
The CT200h adds another string to the Lexus hybrid bow and should appeal to a younger, tech-savvy and eco-conscious audience. It's also the most affordable Lexus to date, which should broaden the brand's horizons. But to really enjoy this car, you need to buy into the hybrid concept and both the limitations and the benefits that technology implies.
It's a brave effort, but the petrol head in me is hoping for a Lexus hatchback with more muscle in the not-too-distant future. A sophisticated hybrid drivetrain delivers decent performance and superb economy, while an excellent chassis proves there's potential for more. Add the tangible build quality and adventurous styling and you have the youngest Lexus yet. However, the CVT gearbox lets the sporty side down.